The Miami men's basketball team closes out their two-game home set in conference play tonight on a Tuesday here at Millett Hall as the Buffalo Bulls are in town looking for just their fourth 3-0 start in conference play in program history. Luke West Poley, Addison Lenhart alongside Addison, a word that really comes to mind for this RedHawk team, punishing when talking about their opening max schedule. 2 games in which Travis Steele really thought they had a pair of good efforts, played a lot better than they did in non-conference play, but the results that ended up no wins on the first 2 games of the season in conference play.
Yeah, and he talked about it, that post-game press conference after the Kent State game, how he was really proud of how his guys fought in those 2 games with some of the beatings that they had taken from the likes of Indiana earlier on in the season. And they did show a lot of fight. Kent State coming into the season, definitely one of the top teams in the MAC, led by MAC Player of the Year last year, Sincere Carey. And Carey got his against Miami, but they really were able to weather the rest of that Kent State attack and played a pretty solid game. It's going to come down to finishing for this young RedHawks team, and they're learning on the fly. First-year head coach Travis Steele, the staff that was formed before the season. And then this young roster, a lot of these guys, their first time playing for the RedHawks, playing together. So it's just going to take some time for this team to gel and kind of find their groove heading through the rest of this MAC season.
Yeah, there's always an adaptation for freshmen, not only when they play their first college games, but then the game changes a little bit once you start to get into conference play. The RedHawks led by 3 at the break against Kent State, but could not close it out and eventually fell in that one 69-66. That came here at Millett Hall on Saturday afternoon. For the Buffalo Bulls, 8-7 on the season, a 2-0 start in Mid-American Conference play for just the 6th time in their team's history, looking to improve to 3-0 for just the 4th time under 4th season head coach Jim Weitzel. Buffalo projected to finish 6th in the Mid-American Conference, but already looking like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, challenging the likes of some of those preseason favorites at Kent State, Toledo, Akron, and Ball State atop the conference.
And Buffalo last year had a really talented team, the likes of Ronaldo Segu, Josh Mbala, and Jadathan Williams, and those guys are nowhere to be seen, but they've really seen a boost from second-year player Curtis Jones, who's coming into this game averaging 15.2 points per game. Wasn't a huge focal point for the team last year, but he's been asked to take on a big role by head coach Jim Weitzel, and he's responded really well so far in this young season.
It's a Buffalo team, like you mentioned, Addison, that lost some players on a pretty talented team last year, hit the portal really hard, 8 transfers on the roster. They've already had a fantastic start to their season, pretty competitive non-conference schedule. But it is a team that is looking to pick up their first true road victory of the season. 7 wins at home, 1-3 in neutral site games, but 0-3 when they have to play in another team's home building. Starters here for the Buffalo Bulls. Laquil Hardnett will be the forward alongside Isaiah Adams. Isaac Jack, the freshman center out of Port Alberni, British Columbia, will make his 5th start in a row. And the 2 guards for Buffalo this evening, Curtis Jones, their leading scorer, and Armani Foster, the Meadville, Pennsylvania native and transfer from Division II, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, is the top D2 team in the country at the time of this broadcast. Those 2, the guards this evening for Buffalo. For Miami, Kamari Williams, Makai Leary, Ryan Mabry, Morgan Safford, and Anderson Marambo will be the starting 5. A RedHawks team that still has not won 2 games with the same starting 5 yet this season. All set to go here from Millett Hall. Crowd rises to their feet prior to this first Miami basket. RedHawks in the home whites with the red Miami across the front, red numbers on the front and back, and red trim. Buffalo in the bright blue uniforms. White Buffalo across the front, white numbers on the front and back with gray stripes down the side. Isaac Jack versus Anderson Marambo on the opening tip. It is won by Buffalo, underway here from Millett Hall. Armani Foster, one of the top assist men in the MAC, will hold on to it to start things off.
A little man-to-man look here from Miami early on, and they get the turnover on the first play.
Larry with the steal. Larry across the timeline. Short pass to Marambo, who just threw it behind Williams, who cut to the basket right as that pass went to him. It'll go out of bounds, and a careless turnover for a Miami team that has really struggled with that. Now 8 games in a row for the RedHawks with 14 or more turnovers. Foster running the point, heads up the far side, loosely guarded by Larry, gets a screen, heads down the right lane, now pulls up at the elbow, pulls it back out for Jones. Minneapolis native on the near side goes back to Foster. Foster, two-hand pass, top of the key for Hardnett. Over to the far side, Isaiah Adams drives cross-court, pulls up from 10 feet, and that one rattles around and in. First points of the night come from Buffalo.
Isaiah Adams coming into this game, averaging 10.6 points per game. He's going to be a major part of this Buffalo Bulls attack.
Adams, who started every game this season for the Bulls. RedHawks looking to respond down 2-0 here, nearly a minute in. Down low, Kamari Williams had an attempt that was blocked. Loose ball in the near corner, those picked up by Miami's Anderson Marambo. Marambo cuts back and forth on his way in. One-handed pass to the far side. Williams uncorks a three. That one in and out. And the rebound for the Bulls is picked up by LaQuill Hardnett. Leading rebounder on this team, averaging over 7 a game. Quickly the other way, Jones drives down the right lane, puts up a one-handed shot, in and out, gets his own rebound, and now puts it back outside where Foster drives Mac Logos, scoops it out for Adams, thought about the three, instead he'll drive on Safford, puts a shot up, does not go, but he'll get fouled.
Isaiah Adams in attack mode early for Buffalo. But on that previous Miami possession, a little bit of miscommunication early in this game between Kamari Williams and Anderson Marambo, as Kamari Williams didn't start playing for this Miami team until a little bit deeper into the non-conference schedule.
Williams making just his 7th appearance. And the first free throw will fall for Isaiah Adams. The UCF transfer was back-to-back Florida 4A Player of the Year in high school from Jacksonville. Played 2 seasons at UCF. 65% free throw shooter. Buffalo out to an early 3-0 lead here. 18:32 to go in the opening half. And make it 2 for 2 at the line. Adams nothing but net on the back end. 4-0 Bulls. Larry races up the far side. Will now pull up once he crosses the midcourt stripe. Larry down to the near side for Marambo, just inside the arc. Marambo hands to a crossing Morgan Safford. Safford at the free throw line, threads it back down low for Marambo. Fakes again, finally puts one up, and that's off the rim short. Rebound by Curtis Jones, who will head up the floor for Buffalo. All the way to the rack, caught some contact from Safford. Shot was a little short. Slapped outside by Larry, but Jones races out and picks it off the floor. Inside, Jack just to the near side of the paint, trying to make his way in on Marambo, but couldn't. Now a give and go, he gets it back in the middle and puts up a left-handed layup that once again falls short. Rebound for the RedHawks by Morgan Safford, who is their top rebounder coming into this one. Safford has it top of the key, 2 hands to the far side for Ryan Mabry, who's been pretty quiet here in the opening goings. At the far elbow, he bounces it in for Marambo. Now back to Mabry, who will drive baseline, goes up and under and skies that one over top of the basket. Right into the breadbasket of Isaiah Adams. Adams across the timeline into the corner. Hardnett drives across the paint, tosses one up too strong, and rebounded for the RedHawks by Makai Larry. Larry, the RedHawks leading scorer, sends it around the arc on the near side. Billy Smith back to Makai Larry at the key, takes a step to the right, uncorks a three and knocks it down. RedHawks finally on the board here. 4-3 Buffalo, nearly 3 minutes in.
He's the guy who needs to perform well for Miami. He was huge in the 2 games last year against Buffalo. Really was the reason they won that first game in New York against the Bulls to open MAC conference play last year. And he was huge in a near comeback victory for Miami when they played here in Oxford. And this offense really is going to run through him, leading the team in scoring with a little over 17 points a game.
Also the minutes leader on this team, disrupted things just prior to that whistle with a kickball. Miami brought in some substitutions. Jaquel Morris and Bryson Tatum, or rather Julian Lewis, on. Off the inbound, a foul will be called on Makai Larry as he reached in.
And Bryson Tatum was Julian Lewis was a transfer from William and Mary. And he was really good early on in the season, had a nice game against Indiana. Hasn't been as electric offensively for the RedHawks as of late.
Around the arc to the near side, Curtis Jones hits a three. A Minneapolis native, transfer from Indian Hills Community College. Making his presence known, leading scorer on this team for Buffalo, makes it 7-3. Now on the flip side, Jaquel Morris was just looking for an option at the top of the key. Finally, he found Billy Smith. He was getting heavily pressured. Smith back in for Morris, now back turned at the free throw line, 9 to shoot. Right side, Smith fires off a three. That one off the heel, rebounded for the RedHawks by Safford, who puts up a mid-range look wide open, but that one rattles off the rim and will not fall. 16-13 to go here, opening half. Buffalo on top by 4. Across the timeline, Curtis Jones with the left hand. Now 2 hands it across for Hardnett on the far side. Hands it off to Adams, sends up a deep three. That one won't go for him. For the RedHawks, Larry has it now across the timeline, steps to the right of the key, takes a contested three and knocks it down. Two early threes for Makai Larry.
Yeah, big time shooting so far from Makai Larry, and this team has been stagnant offensively earlier on, and Makai Larry, the senior, with his leadership, kind of taking control of the game right now offensively for Miami.
Hardnett tried to send a backdoor pass in for Jack, but it got over the head of the big 6'11" center, and it will be RedHawk ball with a chance to take their first lead when we return. 15:40 to go, opening half. RedHawks struggling for offense, but Makai Larry providing as the RedHawks trail by one. Back to Millett Hall next, and this is Miami basketball on RedHawk Radio. $15:40 to go here in the opening half. RedHawks trailing by one, 7-6. But we'll have possession following the turnover on the side of this timeout. RedHawks offense looked a little bit lethargic early on, Addison, but like we've seen time and time again, it's the 50-year leadership from Makai Larry. He took matters into his own hands and hit a couple contested threes to keep the RedHawks in striking distance.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see from your senior leader. Makai Larry, one of the only main contributors returning from last year's RedHawk team. He's got a lot of experience playing against Buffalo and playing in this arena, and he's been huge so far.
Larry inside, he was able to find Jaquel Morris, who put it over top the defender and in. Nice look from the freshman, and the RedHawks take their first lead at 8-7. On the offensive end for Buffalo, Adams two-hands it down, far side of the paint, turning around Hardnett, trying to get a shot up. He got partially swatted away, but the shot still made it over the basket. A foul, though, is called. And for the RedHawks, it'll be on Jaquel Morris, who picked up his first. RedHawks got in serious foul trouble in their last time out against Kent State. Travis Steele talked about how that affected their game. He had to pull Morgan Safford and Anderson Marambo, who each picked up 4 fouls rather early in that second half. Hardnett misses the first one short. 59% free throw shooter from Philadelphia.
And you talk about the foul trouble. I mean, that's what's going to happen to a young team, but Anderson Marambo and Morgan Safford, these are just guys that you just cannot afford to lose that deep into a game against a team like Kent State. And it really ended up costing Miami, not able to put that game away late.
Second free throw falls for Hardnett, and we're tied up at 8 with 15:08 to go in the opening half. Larry across the timeline between the legs on the dribble. RedHawks go around the horn to the near wing. Billy Smith back to Larry, drives down the left lane, sends a pass into a vacant corner and out of bounds. So the RedHawks will commit their second turnover of the game. It'll go back to Buffalo with 14:56 to go.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times so far in this game, just guys throwing passes to where nobody is. Just some miscommunication early offensively that's cost Miami a couple of possessions.
On the far side, Kittrell blocker, able to hand off to Curtis Jones. Jones has it on the far wing, two-hand pass to the near side. Zid Powell into the corner for Hardnett, drives across the paint, up the left lane, and he's called for a travel right before putting that shot up. Just shuffled the feet on the MAC logo, and the RedHawks will get the ball back here. Some early miscues from both teams.
Yeah, great job there by Billy Smith, sliding his feet, staying in front of Hartnett. And Buffalo looks hard-pressed and intent on driving the ball into the paint and challenging Miami with their lack of rim protection.
Quick drive for Larry, steps back, tried to send a bullet pass that was blocked down by Powell. Lead pass to him the other way. He'll lay that one in on the fast break. A Buffalo team that's 5th in the nation in fast break points with 18 a game will take a 10-8 lead here with 14-10 to go in the opening half, following the steal.
And with how poor Miami has been defensively this season, that is just not something you can afford to do, which is giving them easy baskets in transition. In addition to the half-court woes that they've had defending guys one-on-one, you just can't give up free points in those situations.
Jaquel Morris got fouled as it looked like he was about to turn it over. But luckily for the RedHawks, they catch a break. Genevius Smith, junior out of Selma, Alabama, whistled for his first personal on the reach-in. But now, after the inbound, an offensive foul is going to be called away from the ball on the RedHawks. It's going to be on Julian Lewis, who gets his first. 4th team foul already here for the RedHawks. 14:01 to go. Opening half, 10-8 Buffalo. On the offensive end, Curtis Jones bobbled the ball, but able to recover it and got a screen that was moving. An offensive foul going to be called on the other side.
It looked like LaQuil Hartnett kind of had trouble catching that ball and was struggling with the handoff, and then he just kind of ran right into the Miami defender there. Not a good play from Hartnett. It's going to give Miami a chance to kind of, I mean, Miami's been very stagnant on offense, but Buffalo has shot themselves in the foot a couple times as well.
RedHawks do not have Larry or Morgan Safford. They're 2 minutes leaders on the floor right now. Got it on offense, down by 2. Kamari Williams running the point. He finds Lewis, fakes the shot at the top of the key, and will two-hand it to Smith. Now he goes back to Lewis near corner. Got it stripped away. Powell in transition. Bullet across. Nearly a double dribble. The RedHawk bench wanted it from Matting, but he's able to pull it back outside. Now Powell fires off a near wing 3 and knocks it down.
Coach Steele's not going to be happy about that one, but that was a great shot there by Zid Powell and a good defensive play from him on the other end to force that turnover by Julian Lewis.
Just a 19% three-point shooter. He makes it 13-8 Buffalo with 13:07 to go in the opening half. Ryan Mabry having trouble finding any options on the near side. Trapped by blocker. Able to thread one in, though, in the corner to Lewis, who gives it back to Mabry. 8 to shoot. Mabry bounces it to Marambo. He tried to turn around on the drive and lost it. Powell going the other way, 2-on-1, sends it up in the air, and Matting just lost his balance as he went up for that one. Couldn't get the alley-oop and stepped on the baseline with the basketball. RedHawks catch a fortunate break there back in transition as Buffalo fails to cash it.
In pregame, we were kind of talking about the starting lineup for Buffalo and how they're so long and physical and athletic, and that's really given Miami some problems. And Buffalo is all over the place defensively right now. Miami's really not had a ton of success in the half court.
Scoreless in the last nearly 3 minutes are the RedHawks. Now Larry back on the floor. Will find Billy Smith on the far side of the offensive end. He'll drive in, hand off to Marambo, and he'll put that one in to end the scoreless streak for the RedHawks. Buffalo trying to race ahead in transition. Powell lost it to Mabry with the ball loose on the floor. Powell's going to get called for the foul. Buffalo tried to catch Miami sleeping there, and it was just enough for Brian Mabry to be back there so that the RedHawks didn't get caught in transition, and they'll get the ball back here, trailing by 3 with 12:25 to go in the opening half.
Yeah, Buffalo's been a little lackadaisical trying to push the ball up the floor. They've had a couple opportunities where they've been able to cash in, but they've turned it over quite a few times early on in this game, and it's cost them a bigger lead than they already have right now.
Already 6 turnovers in this game for Buffalo. Right elbow pull-up jumper from Larry. That one won't go, and a fast break the other way. Smith gets the lead pass and puts it in. And I believe we get a timeout here called by Buffalo.
I think Coach Steele spent that time.
It's going to be on. It's going to be called by Miami. You are right. So 15-10. 30-second timeout. We'll keep it here with 12:05 to go, and the RedHawks trailing by 5. But you can see what Buffalo does in transition. They're trying to exploit that. The RedHawks have done somewhat of a good job in preventing that as much as possible, but you can see the RedHawks have been a little off and on with their transition defense. Buffalo's gotten a few easy buckets here in the early goings.
Yeah, I think Coach Steele is extremely frustrated with the laziness that he's seeing on offense. Guys just kind of being a little lackadaisical with their passing. And Buffalo's been able to get out in transition. And those easy buckets is exactly what we talked about, just not something that Miami has the luxury of giving up. And both of these teams coming into this game are close to the bottom of the MAC as far as points per game allowed. And Buffalo has been the one who's been able to get some defensive stops and kind of take advantage of those. But Miami's got to find some sort of half-court offense because they're just not going to be able to get stops on offense against this talented Buffalo offense that they're bringing. Another great offensive team that Buffalo is. We expected this to be a shootout, but Buffalo's shown up on the defensive end so far and really forced Miami into a lot of tough situations.
Yeah, it's now 6 turnovers for the RedHawks to equal that tally of the Bulls. And it's just so tough because it matches up so poorly against a team like Buffalo that loves to score in transition. When you turn the ball over and you have no numbers back defensively, it makes it really easy on the Bulls to score points. And I think overall, Travis Steele's got to be somewhat happy that his team's only down 5 here, considering their lack of offensive production for large chunks of this first half. And like you said, just some of that laziness just haven't been the most intentional with how they've been running their offense.
He's absolutely got to be relieved. I mean, for as bad as Miami has been turning the ball over, Buffalo's, I mean, they've had just as many opportunities to kind of put this game kind of close to out of reach in the first half and break this game wide open. But, you know, Buffalo's shot themselves in the foot a couple times, just not been able to really do that. And Miami's got to take advantage of that. Like, this is an opportunity for them to kind of take advantage of the fact that Buffalo has not been on their game offensively.
RedHawks will carry it up the floor out of the timeout. It's Makai Larry running the point. Loosely being guarded by Blocker. Larry gets a screen, drives down the left lane, kicks it all the way outside, around the arc, near wing. 3 from Safford off the heel. Marambo tips it up a couple times and secures the offensive board. Now a one-hand whip through traffic finds Mabry on the near side. He'll two-hand it over to Makai Larry. Larry trying to step back on the mismatch in Manning. Instead, he'll find Williams, who fires up a contested 3 and hits.
You got to feel good about that possession if you're Coach Steele. The ball was really moving around the perimeter there. And they got a couple open looks. Safford was unable to knock down the first one, but they found Williams open in the corner.
Manning in the corner, traveled, was looking to drive in, and just got a little bit antsy, started running before he caught the basketball. It'll go back to the RedHawks here. It's a team that we thought might have had a shooting identity coming into this season, but Travis Steele said earlier this week that their identity on offense has kind of turned into being a ball movement team.
One thing this team really does well is they cut really well. And they get a lot of passes down low on backdoor cuts because Anderson Marambo is so good playmaking from the top of the key.
Larry near side found Williams, tossed up a 3, in and out. Rebounded for Buffalo by Smith. Powell's now got it on the offensive end. At the logo, the Philadelphia native waves for a screen. Two-hands it over to the hometown guy from Rochester. That's Blocker. Blocker drives into the arc, sends it over for Hardnett on the wing. Hardnett over to the top of the key for Adams. Couldn't drive around Safford. Goes around the back with 6 to shoot. Spins, shoots, and scores. From just inside the arc, crafty bucket there. And the Bulls back out in front by 2 possessions. Now the other way, Williams finds himself wide open underneath the basket. Mabry finds him. That's an easy basket for Kamari.
That's a good job by Williams, just getting to the open spaces. And Ryan Mabry, who's showed some flashes of some playmaking skills in this young season, just finding him underneath. A really nice pass there.
Driving down the lane, Adams dribbled it off the leg of Mabry, who went down on the court and was somehow able to get that ball out to Safford before any type of whistle blew. Now the RedHawks go the other way. They'll find Mabry in the corner, puts up a 3, just a hair too strong. It's rebounded by Smith for Buffalo. Past the midway mark, Bulls by 2. Blocker fires up a transition 3. That one off the back heel of the rim. Now a lead pass the other way. Marambo runs it down. Has to save it, though, back into play, and it'll go right to the Bulls. Hardnett was there. Quick transition. Powell drives to the basket and gets fouled. For the RedHawks, the man that gave him the whack, though, is down. That's Morgan Safford, who crashed into the base of the basket. And he looks to be in some pain.
He's grasping that left ankle, that foot. Might have landed weird on that after that, kind of that awkward play.
And really not a good sign for the RedHawks. We've talked a lot this season as Safford's going to be helped to his feet by the training staff on his own baseline. Safford got injured in the season opener against Evansville. And quite honestly, Morgan Safford's been one of the, maybe partially unsung heroes for this team. They just look totally different without him on the floor. Tied for the team lead in minutes and just brings that energy that Travis Steele and the coaching staff love. And he'll be off for the time being. After the missed shot and the foul, some free throws for Zid Powell. First one wide right. 17-15, Buffalo leads. 9:38 to go here in the opening half.
Safford's just such a big part of what Miami does offensively and defensively. He's got a real talent for guarding guys one-on-one. One of the better perimeter defenders on this team, averaging 15 or over 15 points coming into this game. And that's just a huge loss that Miami cannot afford at this point.
Powell hits the second free throw to make it a 3-point lead. Mabry at the top of the key, gets a screen, heads to the far side, step back three, counted. Ryan Mabry, who's just gotten better and better as the season has gone along, finds his first basket after an 0-for-2 start. He ties it up at 18.
And Coach Steele has gone on and on about Ryan Mabry's shooting ability.
On the other end, Powell steps back on Mabry and fires up a three, but it's short. Rebounded for the RedHawks by Jaquel Morris. Morris feeds for Larry, driving, he puts it over the defender and in. Just 5'8", but Makai Larry looking like a forward on that play, gives the RedHawks a 2-point lead here with 8:48 to go in the opening half.
And Makai Larry, just the speed, and he's got immaculate touch around the basket as well.
Racing up the lane, Foster put up a shot that won't go. RedHawks get the rebound, but immediately turn it over. Powell driving to the basket, gets tripped up, and that'll be a foul on the RedHawks with 8:39 to go.
Miami now with the 2-point lead. The way this game has gone, they've got to be pretty happy to be to see themselves sitting on top right now. Kind of a bad foul there from Ryan Mabry.
8th turnover committed just prior to it. 7-1 run over the last 2 minutes for the RedHawks. Baseline inbound for the Bulls. Finds Isaiah Adams. He goes cross court and put right underneath. An open look there for Isaac Jack, who will slam it. Jack, the Canadian, played in the BioSteel All-Canadian game, their equivalent of the McDonald's All-America game last season. Really highly touted Canadian recruit. Makes it 20-20.
That was a great cut by him on that last possession, and Curtis Jones was able to find him underneath for the slam.
Mabry fakes the shot, drives across the paint, lost the ball, but Jaquel Morris there for the RedHawks. 3 to shoot, and an awkward shot tossed up by Lewis, and somehow it finds its way in.
And he's got some shooting ability. We saw it against Indiana where he had a couple 3-point shots made against the Hoosiers, and able to use his size there to get that shot off and knock it down. Huge for the RedHawks.
Calling it a 2 for the moment. Driving the other way, put up by Harden at first try, wouldn't go, but he climbs the ladder to get his own rebound, and the putback falls. Knocks us back up at 22. Wouldn't be surprised if at the next break they take a look at that Julian Lewis shot, determine whether or not it was a 2 or a 3. It was very close. Larry drives up the left lane, got stripped away when he was trying to put up the shot. It'll go out of bounds on the baseline, and I believe it will stay with Miami. Larry wanted a foul, but he won't get it, and that will take us to a timeout. 7:23 to go, and all knotted up here from Millett Hall. It's been about everything we've expected coming into this one. Back to Oxford next. Miami basketball on Red Hawk Radio returns. All tied up at 22 here with 7:23 to go in the first half between Miami and Buffalo. It'll be RedHawk ball with 17 on the shot clock. Coming out of this timeout as Miami will inbound from their offensive baseline. Good news for the RedHawks that in that timeout, Morgan Safford walked out of the tunnel back to the bench under his own power. He'll remain on the bench for now and looks to be kind of testing out that ankle that he injured a few minutes ago. Quickly off the inbound, bounced underneath for Billy Smith, sends up a left-handed shot that hits off the bank and in.
A little post game there from Billy Smith. Not something we've seen from him early on in this season. Known for kind of being a three-point shooter, but beautiful touch around the basket there from the big fella.
Threaded through traffic. Jack gets unlucky with the shot as it rolls off the rim for him. Beautiful facilitation. Jack had a great look, but just couldn't get it to fall. Larry the other way with a transition three. Just pulls back and fires, but that one won't fall for him. And it's rebounded by Adams. Jones put it through the middle for Jack, and now he kicks it out after the drive. We get a whistle, and it went out to Hardnett, who stepped on the sideline. So another turnover there for the Bulls. You were lamenting a bit in the break about just the outrageous amount of turnovers on both sides. Miami has 8. That's now the 9th for the Bulls here, just over 13 minutes in.
It's been quite a sloppy game offensively for both teams.
Foul called away from the ball. It's going to be on the Bulls. Isaiah Adams will pick up his fourth team foul. Just delivered a shove there to Billy Smith, who was not even looking in his direction. So an inbound on the near side will come from Miami's Julian Lewis. Lewis quickly finds Larry on the wing, drives across the paint, finds Mabry in the far corner, fires a contested three and scores.
And Mabry's been struggling from the outside as of late. He's been shooting a lot, but hasn't really been knocking them down. If he can find a rhythm from outside, that is such a boost to this Miami offense.
Jones with an acrobatic move up the right lane and puts it off the window and in.
That was good defense by Mabry, just better offense from Curtis Jones. And Buffalo's going to need him to get going down the stretch of this game if they're going to put away Miami.
Jones with just 5 points. 6 minutes to go. Down low, Morambo guides through the traffic and with the right hand, an easy finish.
And that pick and roll game with Morambo is so lethal for Miami, and they love to take advantage of it.
Foster fires off a contested three. It falls short. Rebounded for the RedHawks by Julian Lewis, who leaped up for the board. William and Mary transfer, drives his way in, kicks it out from Morambo just to the right of the paint. His shot is strong, but a rebound offensively by Lewis. His putback attempt will draw a hard foul. Curtis Jones gets called for his first, and it will send Julian Lewis to the line, the Ann Arbor, Michigan native, an 81% free throw shooter.
That was another good find there offensively for the RedHawks. And Morambo just wasn't able to knock it down, but opportunistic rebounding there for Julian Lewis, putting himself at the line.
It's a Miami team that struggled to rebound the ball this season as Lewis can't connect on the first. Minus 1.5, 33 rebounds per game. Minus 1.5, I should say, on the margin. And a Buffalo team that's really been a strong suit of. 38.2 rebounds per game and well into the plus side in terms of rebounding margin. But rebounds right now even at 11 apiece. 29-24, Miami leads. Second free throw falls for Julian Lewis. That makes it a 6-point lead, largest for either team here in this first half. Player's shoe fell off. That was Smith, and now we got something rolling on the court. Like a button or a something, I don't know. Smith's gonna have to take a second after that whistle, and he's going back to put it back on, maybe like a heart rate monitor or something, I don't know. Put it up underneath the jersey, and now ready to go once again. So an odd sequence there, but just a quick inbound from the far side, and blocker will take it across the timeline for Buffalo. Cross-court drive, Powell right of the lane, puts up a fadeaway. It's too strong, but a foul called on Miami's Billy Smith. Travis Steele irate initially on the Miami bench, but now just clapping his hands.
Smith as well seemed perplexed by that call. He wasn't even the one who was defending him. He just came over to contest the shot, didn't even really touch him, it looked like on that replay. Maybe should have been called on Julian Lewis, if anybody, but not a lot there.
Zid Powell back at the free throw line. And he will make the first. Went 1 for 2 his first time at the charity stripe. Powell, who started the first 10 games of the season before coming off the bench in the last 2, also came off the bench tonight. Arkham Junior College transfer misses the second, and a foul called on the rebound on the Bulls. Aquil Hardnett picks it up. His second and the 6th team foul for the Bulls. 30-25, Miami leads, 5:26 to go in the first half.
And it looked like he was just trying to kind of bury Billy Smith there under the basket, use his strength, but got a little too much of a shove in there. And Hardnett's a big piece of this team, offensively and defensively. His size is something Buffalo really relies on.
At the right elbow, Lewis backed up on his defender who fell down. That was Powell. Now Marambo just inside the arc. Over to the far wing for Lewis, sends a line drive 3 up. That hits off the rim and no good. Rebounded by Buffalo. Jones up the right side, transition 3, in and out. And nearly an offensive rebound, but Smith lost it, and it'll fly out of bounds into the curtain on the baseline. Back to the RedHawks with 4:57 to go in the opening half.
Jones not bashful, averaging over 6 threes taken per game at a 39% clip, so he's talented. He's going to shoot those in transition if he feels like he's got the space.
Nearly a 40% three-point shooter, best from beyond the arc on this Buffalo team. Meanwhile, into the paint for the RedHawks. Macklow goes skyhook from Marambo, rolls around the rim and in. And with a disgusted look on his face on the Buffalo bench, Jim Whitesell will call his first time out as the RedHawks have opened this lead up to 32-25 now with 4:43 to go in half number 1. So, yeah, Miami just seeming to play some better basketball in the last couple minutes, and I think a deserved lead here, Addison, on the scoreboard.
Yeah, offensively, they've been flowing a lot better. I'm not really quite sure what Coach Steele said in that last time out by him, but he was frustrated about the offensive performance from his team, and they've been much better in the following minutes. Anderson Marambo's been a big part of that. He's just kind of been able to carve out some space inside with that big frame of his. And he wasn't really a focal point at Cleveland State, but he's come over and played a huge impact in this Miami starting lineup. The first game of the year, he had 27 points against Evansville, was a big reason that they were able to stay in that game for so long. And on that previous play there, just kind of using his body, backing down the big man for Buffalo and able to finish with that soft touch that he's become known for here at Millett.
Blocker with the right-handed dribble, takes it across the timeline for Buffalo, trailing in their largest hole of the night at 7. Powell from the left elbow, pulls up for a 2. That one hits the rim twice, does not fall in. Rebound by Julian Lewis. He takes it the length of the court. Lewis down the left lane, turns it around, thought about the shot. Instead, he gives back outside for Marambo, who fakes the 3. Hands to Larry. Marambo with the give and go down low, gets it back and puts it in.
Graceful from the big man on that roll, kind of adjusting around the shot blocker, using the left hand, getting that one to go. And Miami is absolutely humming on offense right now.
8 points now for Anderson Marambo and a 9-point lead for the RedHawks. Driving in, blocker with a hop, puts it over Larry and in.
And that's what Buffalo is going to do. They're going to try to exploit their size against the likes of Makai Larry, one of the shortest defenders, the shortest defender on this Miami team. They're going to try and take advantage of the size that they have and overpower him in the paint.
On the near wing, Julian Lewis at the top of the key now. RedHawks just wasting some time here. 10 to shoot, not really a whole lot productive. Outside finally, Safford just takes a 3. A little too strong. Offensive rebound on the weak side by Smith.
Buffalo now in a 2-3 zone.
Smith up for Larry, steps back, fires a 3. No, rebounded by Powell. Powell passes it across the timeline for Jones. Cross court for Adams, contested 3, rattles in. Much needed bucket there for the Bulls, who finally blast the lid off the basket. And just like that, it's a 4-point game here with 3:03 to go.
Interesting move by Coach Whitesell here to go to that zone. Miami is a pretty solid 3-point shooting team. They got a lot of guys who can knock it down as they turn it over there.
Lewis lost it, pass up ahead, and a red carpet for Curtis Jones, who throws down the slam with no RedHawks in sight.
And just as things were looking so good for Miami, all of a sudden the lead just down to 2. It was 9 about a minute ago.
7-0 run for Buffalo over about 90 seconds. 2:34 to go here in the first half. Far flank, Lewis into the right elbow. Safford just trying to thread a pass through some legs, and it's knocked down. Powell picks it off the court. Bulls go in transition. Skying shot by Blocker, gets over top the basket. Offensive board, though, all the way out. Jones with the three. Short. Gets his own rebound, though. Right of the paint. Lofts up a two. That won't go either. And now back outside. It goes to Blocker again. Buffalo possession survives on the far side. Powell fakes the shot. Now will slow it down. Approaching 2 minutes to go. Drives baseline with 10 to shoot. Gets the foul. Puts it up. Too strong, but he will head to the line and a chance to tie this game up with 2:02 remaining in the opening half.
And this zone has really flustered Miami. This media timeout's going to be crucial for them, kind of draw something up to attack that. But Buffalo's gotten back into this game, just making some simple defensive adjustments, and Coach Whitesell's loving what he's seeing.
7 straight points for the Bulls of Buffalo and have not missed from the field in that span. They'll have a chance to tie it at the free throw line when we return with Miami leading 34-32. Stay tuned, more Miami men's basketball on Red Hawk Radio on the way. .202 to go. Miami leading Buffalo 34-32. Bulls now in the bonus, but 2 shots on the way. Coming out of this timeout, Addison, complete performances have been few and far in between for the RedHawks this season, and just when it looks like they're starting to play some really good basketball, a 7-0 run in a matter of just 2 minutes, and now the Bulls a chance to tie it at the line.
Yeah, and it's been the move from Coach Jim Whitesell of Buffalo to the 2-3 zone that has really flustered this Miami offense, forced a couple turnovers. Buffalo was getting out in transition early, taking advantage of a lot of opportunities that Miami was giving them. Then Miami started to get a little bit better offensively, a little more secure with the ball, moving it a lot better. And then they make the defensive adjustment. Miami goes right back to turning the ball over.
Powell hits the first free throw, now 3 for 5 at the strike tonight. Second one on the way for the tie, and he knocks it down. 34 all with 2:02 to go here in the opening half. Buffalo shooting the single bonus. Miami will be there with the next Bull foul. Across the timeline, Makai Larry gives it on the logo and a short pass to Anderson Marambo. Back to Larry, drives in, kicks for Mabry, fires a 3 and hits it. Bullseye for Ryan Mabry, 3 for 4 from beyond the arc. The freshman starting to get hot.
And a beautiful set play drawn up there by Coach Travis Steele out of the huddle. Getting that open look for Mabry, that's what you got to do. You got to go to your best three-point shooters when you need buckets badly.
Jones with a nice jab, drives in to get some space, but a pass to the near corner was tipped away by a leaping Makai Larry into the courtside seats. It'll stay with Buffalo here, 15 to shoot, 1:29 to go. Inbound provided by Foster. IUP transfer puts it in for Jones. Foster will cross him and get it right back, threads it into the paint. Left-handed shot put up by Smith. Does not even reach the basket, and the RedHawks will corral the rebound. 1:17 to go, near side Smith thought about the 3, instead he will go around the horn. On the far wing, Makai Larry has it. Into the corner for Mabry. Back for Larry, who pushes it into the paint. Marambo back outside for Smith, 3-pointer way too strong, just caught backboard and rebounded for the Bulls by Powell.
There's going to be some open threes against that zone. It's going to be up to the RedHawks to just be ready to catch and shoot off any pass.
Powell missed the shot, ball loose on the floor. And a jump ball will be called after going down there. Genevius Smith Looked like he was going to get the offensive rebound, but kind of fell in the process, and the RedHawks were all over him. Possession arrow with the RedHawks here with 52.3 to go.
And this is going to be crucial for Miami. The way you finish halves and start halves is really what can make or break a game for you. And if Miami can turn this game into a 6-point lead instead of a tie game or even a deficit, it's going to be huge and go a long way towards the result of this game.
RedHawks tried to move it quick, and Marambo kicking it out, turned it over, racing the other way. Adams across the timeline for Powell. Powell drives his way in, gets the foul as he goes across the paint. He's going to put up a long shot with the right hand, but instead he will shoot the bonus instead. 32.9 seconds remaining. So the shot clock's still on for now. And Zid Powell, the Philadelphia native, has made the charity stripe his home tonight. He's back there once again shooting the 1-on-1. And he missed it. Rebound tapped around, finds the arms of Anderson Marambo for the RedHawks. Miami is going to take this one down as far as they can, nursing a 3-point lead here. 20 seconds to go. Makai Larry's got it on the logo, pressured lightly by Jones. Larry quickly juts back and forth. Try and get some space on him. Jones giving him nothing right now. Larry at half court with 9 to shoot. Kicks near side. Mabry with a 3. Rolls around the rim and out. And rebounded by Buffalo. 4 seconds to go up the court. Jones at the logo gets a screen. Tosses one up and it falls short at the buzzer. And the RedHawks will take a lead into halftime for the 3rd straight game here in conference play. 3-point lead once again for the RedHawks. Exactly what they had against Kent State on Saturday. They squandered it in that one, but for the RedHawks, certainly looking to learn from lessons that they saw late in that game on Saturday. And overall, considering the effort in the start and how things really turned around for this Miami team towards the middle part of that first half, got to be pleased taking a lead into the break.
Yeah, absolutely. The way they, kind of the middle third of that half was really where Miami did a lot of their damage. And the way they finished the half was not the best, but adequate enough to the point where they could carry that lead. And after that turnover by Marambo right before the end of the half, he kind of thought that maybe Buffalo had a chance to really do some damage and possibly go into the locker room with a lead. But Miami was able to kind of weather the storm there, and they've got a 3-point lead. But what this young team has struggled with so much is just finishing games. We'll see if they've grown up at all heading into the second half.
RedHawks shooting 48% from the field. They turned the ball over, though, 11 times in that opening half for Buffalo. 40% off 12 for 30 on field goals. Just 3 for 10 from 3, though, and 9 turnovers for the Bulls. Buffalo, a team that if they can score 80 points or more, they're good. They're 7-0 when they do that this season, and 43-3 under head coach Jim Whitesell when they can eclipse the 80-point mark, but far off that pace in the opening half. RedHawks doing a good job keeping a potent Buffalo attack at bay as much as they could. For Buffalo, they are led by Powell and Adams with 9 points. The only one who can match that mark for the RedHawks is Ryan Mabry, who did it off a trio of trays. RedHawks take a 3-point lead into the break. We'll be back with the second half as Miami looks to pick up their first win in conference play this season. Stay tuned until then. This is Miami Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. At the halftime break here at Millett Hall, 37-34. Miami's got the lead. Fortunate for the RedHawks, they've not completed a second half comeback this season. So luckily will not have to with a 3-point lead after 20 minutes of play. Luke West, Poley, Addison, Lenhart alongside. Addison, this is a pretty stereotypical MAC basketball game. It was ugly in that first half. It was not a team, or not a game, I should say, that either team I think would be super pleased with. 11 turnovers for the RedHawks, 9 for Buffalo. But at the end of the day, the shooting was pretty good on both sides when it had to be. And should be a pretty fun final 20 minutes of this one.
Yeah, you said it. Turnovers were kind of the story for each team early on. Turnovers and silly fouls by both teams. But Miami was able to get a little stretch of offense going kind of in the middle of that second half. And then Buffalo made a very crucial switch to a 2-3 zone that really threw off Miami for the final minutes of that half. And that's kind of what Buffalo's been doing. Miami's kind of been able to stretch it out a few times, get the lead up to 6-7 points, and then Buffalo's just been able to get a few transition buckets and gotten back into it. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable for Buffalo in the second half if Miami can kind of milk some clock, if they can build up a lead again and then milk some clock and kind of get rid of those turnovers. Miami's going to be in good shape. But these last two games, they've had halftime leads against MAC opponents, Central Michigan and Kent State, and they haven't quite been able to finish them off. And a lot of that has to do with the youth on this team and the fact that this team has not played together a ton other than just this year. You talked about earlier how many different starting lineups Miami has put out on the floor this season. So this team's still getting used to playing together, and they're going to have to get used to finishing games and growing up a little bit in the final minutes of these games. And we'll see if they can do it against a Buffalo team who has kind of been, I mean, in a word, not great at, or in 2 words, I guess, not great on the road. So we'll see if Miami can kind of take advantage of that and finish this one off. This would be a huge win early in Travis Steele's MAC tenure.
Yeah, certainly a get-right type of game for the RedHawks, who've, despite some good efforts, dropped 2 straight to begin MAC play. Miami, after this, going to take a quick road trip this weekend to Muncie. They'll take on the Ball State Cardinals at 2 p.m. That game on Saturday. They'll be back at home on the 17th against a Northern Illinois team that's one of a few that the RedHawks are actually favored to beat in MAC play this season. And all eyes on the home game after that. Following a 2-game trip, RedHawks will return to Millett Hall on January the 28th to take on mighty Imani Bates and the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Despite having a talent like Bates on their team, Eagles not off to a good start at all this season. Bates leads the conference in points per game. They nearly upset Michigan in non-conference play. But Eastern Michigan as a team, their defense especially has really struggled. You look at a lot of defensive categories, Miami is second to last, and the team they're in front of is Eastern Michigan. But still, certainly should be exciting to see a guy who was nearly a #1 overall pick come into Millett Hall. Buffalo with possession coming out of the halftime break. Quickly up the left lane, a bucket for the Bulls, and they cut the lead to 1 right away, just about 15 seconds in. RedHawks will now carry it to the offensive end. Kamari Williams nearly lost it, falling out of bounds, had to find Mabry, who was also doing so. He'll loft it back out to the center of the court. Larry caught it, drives in, kicks out, top of the key 3 for Kamari Williams, high in the air. Arching shot won't go, and rebound for the Bulls by Isaiah Adams.
Yeah, Buffalo back to man-to-man on that possession, so not going into the 2-3 zone that they had so much success with in the first half. An interesting move from Coach Whitesell there, and it pays off as they get a stop, and now they got a chance to take the lead here.
Rambo nearly had a steal, pried that ball away, and then there was a fight for it that ensued in which Ryan Mabry picked up a foul, so Buffalo will inbound from their baseline. RedHawks did okay in the first half with fouling, not great. They had 8 as a team. A few players with 2. Inbounding on the baseline. Ball comes all the way up top where Armani Foster puts it back down left of the paint for LaQuill Hardnett. Trying to play some bully ball, gets inside, but now threads it back up top for Jones. Jones back for Hardnett, runs a man over. Kamari Williams draws the charge.
That's an interesting call there. Usually you see that when guys are backing down and lowering that left shoulder or that right shoulder into the chest of the defender, but Hardnett gets called for it there on the spin move. And a nice job there to draw that foul by Kamari Williams.
Williams, the lanky 6'7" forward for the RedHawks. Kind of their de facto second inside presence when he's alongside Anderson Marambo on the floor. Marambo's got the ball in his hands now, far side of the paint. Two hands it back out for Larry. Larry, far wing, trapped into the corner by a pair of defenders, drives baseline, throws it into the middle for Ryan Mabry, screaming through, is blocked, but it's right into the hands of Makai Larry. Larry dribbles through two defenders, whips it around for Williams, passes behind him. He recovers as the shot clock expires, puts one off the front of the rim that's rebounded by the RedHawks, and Anderson Marambo thought he had the putback, but rather it's an offensive foul called on the RedHawks. Thought that it was going to be an and one. And just some hands on heads and puzzled looks on the Miami bench. An exhaustive possession that looked like it was going to have a burst of momentum on the tail end. But instead, this crowd back down to their seats and a bit sunken in here. RedHawks come up empty. And it looked to me like Marambo kind of just tried to use an up and under move. He kind of got that shoulder under the body of Isaac Jack there. And the official from the far side kind of saw that as a little bit of a hook, I think, with his elbow. And I think that's why that got called. But costly turnover there from Marambo. Had a chance to, would have possibly put the RedHawks up 2 possessions. Marambo hit it, Marambo hit it out of bounds, and then on the ensuing inbound that just occurred, a pass that was intended for Jones was just out of his reach. He was trapped in the corner along the sideline of the baseline, and that pass was just way too far out of the court. So the RedHawks fortunate now, as Buffalo will turn it over for the 12th time, and Miami has it back on the offensive end, up by 1. 18:04 to go in the opening half. Larry drives down the right side of the lane, circles the entire court, now has it back outside in front of the Miami bench. Larry makes his way to the top of the key, puts a pass through, and finds Marambo, who puts it in. Marambo was not standing where that pass was going, but Makai Larry seeing the future there. Quick transition the other way. Foster gets around Larry and lays it in with the right hand.
A lot more easy layups in this half for Buffalo. They started off with one to begin the half, and then right there, just uncontested getting to the rim.
Safford in the far corner. Gives to the elbow for Marambo. Slow pass to the near side. Takes a tick off a couple defenders. Williams got it, drove in, and drew the foul. RedHawks have gotten fortunate on a couple of those where they probably should have turned the ball over, and instead Buffalo just kind of mishandled when they were looking for the steal. That another example, and this time the RedHawks will cash in as Kamari Williams will be able to make his way to the line.
And Marambo didn't quite put enough on that pass to Mabry, but Kamari Williams opportunistic, able to pull that one down and get to the basket.
He banks the first one in to make it a 40-38 Miami lead. A RedHawk team who at one point was the best free throw shooting team in the nation. Their percentage has been down. They're now 4th. But Williams will hit the second. RedHawks 4 for 5 from the line, or 3 for 4, I should say, tonight. They lead by 3. Driving down the lane, Hardnett, or rather Jones, turns around, leans into the defender, and is going to draw the foul. That'll be called on Morgan Safford as he put up a shot that was too strong. Travis Steele on the Miami bench is just dragging his foot, trying to signal to the referee his recollection of what happened.
Yeah, not quite sure how Curtis Jones was able to keep that pivot foot down. It certainly looked like he might have shuffled it a little bit, but Buffalo catches a break there.
Jones will not hit the first free throw. RedHawks are going to take out Morgan Safford. He got called for that foul. That's his 3rd. Safford, who's been one of Miami's best consistent scorers, has been held entirely out of the score column tonight. 0 for 3 from the field and now 3 fouls. He'll be replaced by Julian Lewis. Second free throw will fall for Jones. Buffalo's leading scorer with 8 points, 3rd on the team. 41-39, 17:03 to go in the second half. Marambo just inside the arc, straight away, drives in the left lane with the right hand, rolls it around the defender and in. Momentum type of play from Anderson Marambo, who's now got 12 points. Buffalo goes quick in transition. Adams threads between a couple defenders, puts one short, but Jack collects it, puts it in. Teams trading buckets, Miami on top by 2. Larry thought about pulling up from the free throw line. Instead, he finds Williams far corner, drives his way in, thought about the mid-range jumper, and instead he will thread a pass low to Marambo at the elbow. Marambo hands it back, now a mid-range J from Williams, and he knocks it in. Has a little encouragement to the bench on his way back as well. Mabry sticks the feet in, but they're going to call him for a foul. He just wasn't able to set those in enough. Miami bench is signaling for a travel, as Isaiah Adams was coming up quickly. Again, Buffalo was trying to go fast in transition. I beg your pardon, it was actually Jones. And he collided with Ryan Mabry.
Mabry a little overzealous there. Couldn't quite get the feet set, had the right idea there, just wasn't able to quite get the feet set, draw that foul.
So Jones has it near wing now following the inbound. LaQuill Hardnett tried to put it into the paint. That's slapped away from Adams. He leaps to save it, but throws it back in right to Makai Larry. Larry in transition just tosses up a prayer and is knocked down. He'll get the foul, does a push-up on his way up, and Makai Larry will head to the line. We've mentioned a few times already on this broadcast with how undersized Makai Larry is, but one area that he really does use of that lack of height to his advantage, he is very good at plays like that where he quite honestly isn't even really looking for the basket. He's just trying to get the foul, and he's a great free throw shooter to pair along with it. First one clatters in for the Evansville native, 91% free throw shooter on the year is Makai Larry. No longer the top free throw shooter in the MAC, but second right now in the conference. RedHawks are going to take out Kamari Williams. They will replace him with Jaquel Morris. 5-point lead for the RedHawks with 16:02 to go. Larry hits the second. They make it a 6-point lead. It's a Miami lead that got as much as 9 with 4:14 to go in the first. Powell gets around the screen, heads up the right lane. Morris with the block. RedHawks go the other way with numbers. Lewis tracking to the right side, pulls up, finds Larry, over for Mabry, open three, yes. Timeout Buffalo. You can feel some energy starting to seep its way into Millett Hall. That's kind of what we saw in that first half. RedHawk lead restored at 9. Big transition three and a great look there from Ryan Mabry.
And just a real heads-up play there by Julian Lewis, who was kind of streaking down the floor. Would have been one-on-1, one-on-two for him, but he made the smart play, pulled that out, found Makai Larry, and Ryan Mabry, who's been shooting the ball really well in this game. Coming into this game, only 28% from three on the year, but we know that he's a really talented shooter. Coach Steele has talked about it on multiple occasions, and he's got a real nice three-point stroke, and he's found it tonight.
Heading down the tunnel during the halftime break, heard some words about Ryan Mabry from assistant coach Rob Summers. He said, let him cook. 4 for 6 from beyond the arc and 12 points for the freshman. And Miami leads by 9. We'll return to Millett Hall next. This is Miami Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. RedHawks were looking good going into that timeout. Ryan Mabry hits a big three to now tie the lead in points on the team with 12. He's now 4 for 6 from three-point as the RedHawks lead 50-41 here with 15:41 to go.
And Mabry has really picked up the slack of Morgan Safford, who has not gotten on the scoreboard yet. But Mabry, another one of those talented wing guys who can really shoot the ball from the outside. has been huge, and I think that Coach Steele is going to go nuts on this official soon with the way that he's been looking at some of these calls.
Armani Foster drove in. Jaquel Morris swatted him away, but caught just enough of the arm that triggered the foul call. Like you mentioned, Addison, RedHawk bench not too happy, but after a very quick sequence, we are taken to another timeout with 15:33 to go. Back to Millett Hall next. Miami still leading by 9. (50-41), Miami leads Buffalo here with 15:33 to go in half number 2. Armani Foster will shoot some free throws here coming out of this timeout. Foster, 6'4" graduate student guard out of Meadville, Pennsylvania. Hits the first free throw. Played at Division II Indiana University of Pennsylvania, who's currently ranked #1 in the country in D2 at over 1,500 points there. Was a really highly touted grad transfer. Visited Xavier, had offers from Towson and Morehead State before eventually landing on Buffalo. He'll hit the second free throw, makes it a 7-point game here with 15:30 to go. Larry slowly across the timeline, guarded by Foster. Larry finds Morris. Morris back to Larry, gets around the screen, slings it near side for Smith. Cross-court drive, sends it in. He's blocked by Hardnett and out of bounds off the hands of Buffalo. It'll stay with the RedHawks, 12 to shoot, 15-14 to go.
Yeah, and that's the defensive versatility we kind of talked about in the first half with Hardnett that this team really relies on. They don't have a true rim protector or a shot blocker that they just kind of plant in the paint, but they've got a lot of length on this team, and these guys can really go one-on-one and block shots that way, and that's what we saw from Hardnett there on Billy Smith.
Hardnett, former UC Bearcat, leading rebounder on this team. Off the inbound, Larry gets it back, works his way in, and fires off a mid-range J that finds nothing but net. Quick transition, under the basket, Smith lost it, regains, gets the basket and the foul. Genevius Smith will be at the line as once again the RedHawks just get caught sleeping, coming back defensively.
We saw that a bunch of times in the first half, and Miami really had not been subject to that probably from the middle of the first half up to this point, the last 15 minutes of game time. But the hustle there by Genevius Smith to get down the floor and the good look get him underneath. And then Ryan Mabry committing his 4th foul of the game.
Davius Smith, the Seton Hall transfer, will hit the free throw. Smith's had a really interesting journey from Selma, Alabama, played his high school ball in Canada, went JUCO, ended up at Seton Hall, and now at Buffalo. Free throw makes it a 6-point game and gives Buffalo some juice on offense. For the RedHawks at the top of the key, Julian Lewis gives for Larry on the far side, drives in, back out for Lewis, long 3, off the front of the rim, rebounded by Jones. He finds Powell in transition, fakes the shot, gets it over top the defender, that was Lewis, and off the window and in for 2.
And where's Miami going to look offensively for 3-point scoring? Morgan Safford still without a basket this entire game, and Ryan Mabry with 4 fouls. Miami's going to need to find somebody who's going to step up and make some perimeter shots while Mabry's on the bench.
Smith tried to force one in from Morris. That's tapped away by Powell. Tries to lead it there for Smith as he made his way in, and Smith will get fouled hard by Morris under the basket. Just another careless play there for the RedHawks, as Billy Smith just put a pass into the elbow to Jaquel Morris. It was only about a 5-foot pass. Wouldn't have really given the RedHawks much progress in terms of generating a look. And he was double covered. So Smith back at the line, 54% free throw shooter. First one goes in and out. RedHawks nursing a 4-point lead. Really feels like they're clinging to it right now more than anything. Anderson Marambo back into the game to replace Jaquel Morris. But it feels like Addison, the RedHawks just need that impactful play that can swing some momentum back onto their side. Smith goes 0 for 2 at the line. Battle for the rebound, and Buffalo gets it. Quick out. Foster fakes the 3 straight away, and now the Bulls will settle down. Powell at the logo. Crossing back and forth on Safford, lost it. Instead, he'll dump it back for Jones, who fires off a long 3. And that one will be rebounded by Larry, but a foul called on the RedHawks away from the ball. Marambo will pick up the personal with 13:58 to go. Buffalo's got the ball right back.
And you talked about the momentum play that Miami is kind of searching for at this point, as Buffalo in the bonus early on in the second half. 13:58 to go. They're going to be shooting free throws for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that was the 8th team foul as well for the RedHawks.
But Miami needs that momentum play because Buffalo is, while they've gotten back into this game, the margin is still in Miami's favor. And kind of the key here is if Miami can string together a few buckets, kind of demoralize the Bulls a little bit, those types of plays can really go a long way towards winning games. And Miami's kind of been without those in the first 2 games of MAC play.
Smith hits the first free throw, second on the way, and that'll fall. Lead dwindles to 2. Buffalo shooting the bonus, under 14 to go here in regulation. RedHawks had a lot of momentum, and just like in the first half, it promptly disappeared. Lewis up top of the key for Smith. Near side Larry at to the free throw line. Marambo doing it himself, drives down low, shot off the window, won't go. Safford collects the offensive rebound and finds his first points.
And he's coming back up the floor with a little bit of a limp. Hopefully nothing too serious for the Miami forward, but a big basket and a big play for him to get on the board in that situation.
Foster drives up the left lane, puts one up and got it underneath. Weaving between Julian Lewis there.
Yeah, doing all he can on defense there, Julian Lewis, but just a tough finish there by Foster. And Lewis is a good, versatile defender. He's got some length to him, unable to get anything on that shot there. Foster was able to get around and use his foot speed.
Smith on the wing. Puts it far side of the paint for Safford. Now around to the near corner. Larry with 9 to shoot, drives baseline. Larry turns around in the paint, back out for Safford. Far wing 3, count it. Much needed Morgan Safford. RedHawks lead by 5. Miami gets back quick in transition. Buffalo's gonna have to carry this one slowly up the court.
Yeah, you think that layup might have unlocked something in Morgan Safford. Scores like him really only need 1 shot to go through.
3 on the other end for Jones. Off the inside of the rim and away. Rebounded for the RedHawks by Larry.
And Safford still walking up the court with a limp, trying to do all he can on the offensive end for the RedHawks.
Safford's got it now. Tried to bring it around the defender, stripped it away from his grasp, but now Powell tried to go too quick up the court. Safford will take it away from him. Near side, Larry fakes the 3. Shot clock never reset. And so for the RedHawks, Lewis has it with 2 to shoot, just throws one up that's not even close. And it'll be a shot clock violation on the RedHawks. Tough break there for Miami, as it looked like they turned that ball over. But I guess officially there was no full possession, as there was kind of a bobble and Buffalo never really got a firm grasp on it. And thus the shot clock did not reset. Players on the court were unaware, and Miami will turn it over for the 14th time. 12 minutes even to go, and a back and forth affair. RedHawks clinging on right now. We'll see if that continues when we come back.
It's a good world. Good world gone bad.
(57-52), the Miami lead over Buffalo with an even 12 minutes left on the clock. 18 fouls, though, early on here in the second half for the RedHawks. Buffalo shooting the bonus right now, but out of this timeout. A fresh possession for the Bulls following a shot clock violation on Miami's offensive end. Foster with the combo effort up the court with Adams. Around the arc to the near side. Foster trying to drive on Larry, gets to the right lane around the defender, and that's an easy bucket there for Armani Foster.
Yeah, Foster's been huge in the second half, getting downhill, getting to the basket. He's had a couple of those opportunities, just very uncontested at the rim. Miami without a real rim protector, without Jaquel Morris on the floor. And Foster has taken advantage of that.
Foster now with 12 points. Meanwhile, into the paint. Marambo just tried to jump between a pair of defenders and will draw the foul.
That was a good look there by Julian Lewis, kind of getting to the baseline, and that nice bounce pass there to Marambo. Unable to really handle it well, but he got bailed out by a foul there from Isaiah Adams.
Marambo, 82% free throw shooter on the season. No problem on the first. Morgan Safford will come in to replace Billy Smith for Miami. Just an uncharacteristic performance, not only for Morgan Safford in the lack of points, but also has been on and off the floor, as Marambo will hit the second. Safford tied for the team lead in minutes. He does not leave the court very often, but that has not been the case tonight with what is likely an injury he's still nursing. On the drive, Foster up the right lane with the right hand. Another easy bucket for number 4 in blue. 59-56, Miami leads now with 11:07 to go. Foster with 12 points. That leads the Bulls. A handoff there was tipped away as Lewis was trying to go to Safford, and Jones will pick it up and have a fast break bucket. That puts Buffalo behind by 1.
Looked like Coach Steele wanted a foul on that handoff there between Lewis and Safford. And it looks like
he got a technical.
He's going to get a technical, yeah.
He's got his hands up. The official that he was yelling at was just kind of taking it. And then the official on the baseline was the one who called the technical. Steele just had his hands up to the sky. The RedHawks had it on the offensive end. So this will bring a free throw for Curtis Jones. He'll shoot 2.
This is an interesting time to call that technical foul. Steele's kind of been letting them have it the whole game, and they, like you said, they've been taking it for most of the time, but he said something to the other official that I guess the other official took offense to more than the guy he was yelling at did, but tech is called there.
Jones, the Minneapolis, Minnesota native, hits the first free throw to tie the game. 79% free throw shooter and the leading scorer on this Buffalo team. Can't hit the second. Falls short.
It won't quite cost Miami the lead here, but it's going to cost them possession. Or cost Miami. Well, it did cost them the lead, but they're not losing at this point. 59-59 score now.
Jim Whitesell trying to spur up some support on his bench. Was just yelling and clapping in his guys' faces, trying to drum up some energy. RedHawks have it here on the offensive end. Marambo threads it in for Larry, who lost the ball, but it was because of a foul inside, as a reach-in was provided there by Isaiah Adams, who gets his 4th.
Another kind of a bailout foul there from Isaiah Addison. Again, Makai Larry didn't really seem like he had great control of that, or at least Buffalo had some help side defense ready to contest Larry there, but able to draw the foul.
Yeah, looking at the replay, Larry bobbled and lost that ball before the foul even happened. So not really necessary at all there for Adams. Larry will inbound from the baseline with 20 on the shot clock, 10:33 to go, all tied up at 59. Into the corner, open look for Lewis for 3, and he knocks in the tray. And the other way, Jack tried the slam, missed it, but was fouled and fell hard to the ground. Wincing now as he got up. Good to see that he was able to kind of bounce off the court and get right back on his feet. That looked very scary off the initial look. But again, Buffalo just sending a stretch man in behind, and Miami just has not had an answer. It'll send Isaac Jack to the line.
And Anderson Marambo, not the most athletic guy on the floor, and he's had problems getting back on defense, and they've cost Miami a couple of buckets, but Isaac Jack not able to knock down that free throw, not able to take advantage of the mistake there from the Miami big man.
Jack misses the first, 58% free throw shooter. Here's the second. That's no good as well. Marambo on the rebound for the RedHawks. Bulls come up empty. Yeah, doesn't turn out to bite him.
Turns out to be a good foul there. Not allowing the easy dunk and transition for Jack. And now this is a big possession for Miami to kind of get back to stretching this lead out if they can.
Larry weaves through traffic. A pass was tipped, but still found Safford in the corner. Goes across the court before two-handing it to Lewis, top of the key. Lewis back out for Safford as he tried to drive in. It was tapped away by Powell in transition. Powell tried to dunk it instead. Will just loft it up and put it in. That makes it a one-point game. And again, the RedHawks turn it over. That's now 18 on the game.
It's the second turnover for Safford. Him and Lewis have had some ball security issues, passing and handing off to each other. That's a nice drive there by Makai Larry.
Larry drove down the right lane, nearly hit a mighty tough look, but instead will be content with a pair of free throws.
Makai Larry has an unbelievable ability to just kind of alter his shot in air. He absorbs that contact and is just able to kind of adjust his shot in midair, unlike a lot of guards you see in college basketball.
So Larry will toss up the first free throw and knock it down, no problem, which will put the lead back out to 2 at 63-61. Morgan Safford out, Ryan Mabry in for the RedHawks with 9:43 to go.
Travis Steele trusting the young freshman not to pick up that 5th foul. You got to think that Mabry's going to be a focal point on the offense going down the stretch, as he's knocked down 4 threes in this game. Probably Miami's best perimeter threat. Him picking up a 5th foul at this point in the game would be really not what Miami's looking for, as Coach Whitesell Very frustrated with that Buffalo turnover.
They were trying to make their way up the floor, and a long pass went right to Whitesell on the sideline, who just threw the ball down. And it's just given his team a look of just disdain. RedHawks lead by 3. For Buffalo, that was turnover number 13. Larry straight away goes around the screen to the near side. Back up top, this is Lewis. Lewis threads it left elbow. Marambo turns, goes down the lane with the right hand off the glass and in.
And Isaac Jack has just had no answer for that spin and drive by Anderson Marambo. He's gotten a couple buckets off that. And Jack just doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with the grace and smoothness of Anderson Marambo.
And an offensive foul called as a screen set for Foster. Was not legal. And the RedHawks, for what feels like the third time in this game, are starting to develop a bit of a wave in their favor. Both times the RedHawks did it. They did it once in the first half, and then early on in the second half, they were able to stretch the lead out to 9. But each time, Buffalo had an answer. Following that foul, the RedHawks will now be in the bonus. We'll see if Jim Whitesell's team is able to cut this run short for the RedHawks before it reaches anything too bad. Near side, Mabry, 3, rolls in.
That's a big time shot there from Ryan Mabry, who's been knocking him down from the perimeter all game. He comes right off the bench with 4 personals and hits an absolute dagger.
Down the lane, Jones tripped, and that's a travel. All RedHawks right now, 8-point lead with 8:36 to go. Ryan Mabry's hitting contested threes. They're getting defensive stops on consecutive possessions. And a chance now to make this lead double digits for the first time by any team tonight on this RedHawk possession.
You can feel the momentum swinging in favor of the RedHawks right now. A bucket here would be huge for Miami, and they're just going to turn it over.
A pass thrown back, intended for Kamari Williams, got by him. So it'll be a backcourt for the RedHawks. And just like in previous times, when it feels like Miami really has a chance to put themselves in firm control of the game, just not quite able to get that final step. Now a big possession here on the other end for Buffalo. Powell moseys to the far side, jumps, sends a bullet to the baseline. Smith had trouble handling it, and he traveled as he was trying to gather that ball.
And Buffalo is just a little frantic right now, offensively and defensively, as they're trying to get it all back kind of in one play. I mean, plenty of time. Buffalo just needs to kind of calm down here and run some good offense, but Miami has taken advantage of the miscues from the Bulls here in the second half.
Under 8 to play now with the RedHawks on top by 8. Around the horn at the far side, Ryan Mabry gets a screen set by Jaquel Morris. Mabry works his way in, right-handed layup off the glass, no good. Rebound tapped around, finds Jones. Up ahead, flying dunk attempt by Powell, and he missed it over top the basket. That goes straight out of bounds. Powell pleading for a foul. He's not gonna get it. Jim Whitesell, way out of his post, has come out onto the court, trying to plead his case as well. But as of right now, it's gonna be RedHawk ball. And that will take us to a timeout. Goodness, tensions flaring here at Millett Hall. RedHawks lead by 8 with 7:41 to go. Miami trying to close out conference win number 1 on the season. Back next. 69-61, Miami leads over Buffalo, carrying some momentum into that timeout. As they were able to force a turnover, Jim Whitesell was livid going into that. Thought there should have been a foul called as Zid Powell tried to go up for a highlight reel poster. Caught some contact, but most of all just threw that ball across the basket and out of bounds. So it'll be Red Hawk possession here, inbounding from their own backcourt. Request Poley, Addison, Lenhart alongside. Thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday night. Nearly a turnover, but Makai Larry able to gather right before that ball hit the baseline on the inbound given by Lewis. Larry will take it uncontested over the stripe. Larry to the far side, sends it in from Marambo, who put a man down on the court. An offensive foul will be called on the RedHawks.
And that's going to be costly. That's the fourth on Marambo. With Mabry already with 4 fouls, and Coach Steele knows that. He's going to get Marambo out of there as the freshman Morris entering back into the game. But that's a costly foul there from Anderson Marambo.
Morris with 3 fouls of his own. He, along with Morgan Safford, playing with that total. And Mabry and Marambo, like you mentioned, the two playing with 4. Foster running the point. Across, gets a good crossover move into the corner. Powell is blocked by Kamari Williams on a 3. Really nice move there by Foster to get some space. And a pass looked like it was going to set up a wide open opportunity in the corner for Zid Powell. And Kamari Williams, using that long frame, came out of nowhere for the rejection. Pass bumped up the near side for Jones. Cross-court pass for Blocker. Blocker trapped, finds Hardin at the top of the key. Now near side Powell. Powell over for Blocker. Thought about the step back, 8 to shoot. Instead, he'll give it back out for Foster. Foster drives in, turnaround jumper from the Mac logo, and it falls.
Foster's had a really nice second half, using his body there to kind of create some space, and that little fadeaway jumper, the soft touch there. Foster's up to 14 points now for Buffalo. That's good enough for the team lead.
6-point lead for Miami. Larry almost turned it over, bounced off the defender and regathered the ball. On the far side, he two-hands it to Williams, drives in, sky shot, hit off the side of the backboard, but a foul will be whistled. It'll be on Cottrell Blocker, who gets his first and the 8th team foul for the Bulls. And just a nice drive there from Kamari Williams. Pick up some contact. It's a tough angle. Shot didn't really have a great chance of going in.
And Kamari Williams, another one of the few returners from last year's Miami squad. And he showed some flashes last year of ability to take over games with his scoring ability. He's got real nice creation skills. He knows how to score the basketball. And it's going to be key for him down the stretch, kind of teaching these young guys and kind of taking them under his wing, getting them ready for the rest of the MAC season, and knocking down both free throws. Huge for Miami.
Restores the lead at 8, 6:30 to go. Quick drive, Foster through the traffic, and a foul as he gets tripped up.
Williams just caught a little bit out of position there. Foster just tried to go right by him. Tripped over the leg of Kamari Williams there.
Foster's done a nice job. It seems like he is able to turn just the tiniest bit of space into a whole lot of it. It just seems to multiply every time he drives. That time, able to get around his defender, get inside. His first free throw off the heel of the basket.
Buffalo's just had an atrocious day from the free throw line. Now 14 for 25.
Miami catches a bit of a break because teams shoot very well against Miami from the free throw line. 3rd best in the MAC. He will hit the second.
And Miami's been almost perfect from the free throw line. If you're Coach Whitesell and you're looking at a loss in the, or another addition to the loss column after this game, you're going to look at the free throw disparity between these two teams as one of the main reasons.
Williams jutting back and forth, forced one into Jaquel Morris, who had it stripped away. Morris sends a shove into Powell's back as he drived in, and his layup rolled off the rim, so it won't be an and one, but there will be 2 free throws. And Zid Powell kicking himself going up there because he got that foul call. He knew that could have been a huge and one, and probably one he should have had.
Yeah, and Morris, who looked like he was trying to avoid the foul call there by not contesting that shot at the rim, just got a little handsy with Powell, keeping that hand on his backside. And the ref, that was enough for the official to give him, or to give Powell the call there.
So that's Jaquel Morris's fourth. Morgan Safford is going to come back into the game for the RedHawks to replace Kamari Williams. Williams and Billy Smith have the 2 lowest foul totals on the team for the RedHawks. They each have 1. Makai Larry has 2. Everybody else for the RedHawks has either 3 or 4. Nobody's fouled out yet for Miami. Second free throw is good, as Powell cuts the lead to 5. Safford had it poked away. Adams, though, called for the foul and lets out a yelp.
That's going to do it for Isaiah Adams. That's his 5th foul. So that's 1 starter to the bench for the rest of the game for the Bulls.
Adams fouls out with 9 points off 3 for 5 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3. 4 rebounds, though, for number 23 in blue, but like you said, he'll have to take a seat. Bit surprising that the first man to foul out of this game is on the Buffalo side. Morgan Safford to the free throw line. 71-66 with 6:05 to go. Safford's opening free throw falls right through.
That's where the strength of this Miami team really comes out in the final minutes of these games. Their free throw shooting, as you said earlier, amongst the top in the country. And as I say that, Morgan Safford unable to cash in on the second one there.
Off the front of the rim. Buffalo on the rebound, now under 6 to play as it's taken across the timeline by Foster. Foster able to get around Larry, who trips down low. A rejection by Jaquel Morris on Hardnett. Back outside, 3 for Jones. That falls short, and a foul called on the second rebound.
That's going to do it for Ryan Mabry.
And it's going to be on Mabry. All the RedHawks looking up at the Jumbotron want to see a replay. It's not going to be shown, but regardless, Mabry will be sent off. A game that has just been chock full of fouls.
You can see Mabry on that replay kind of just had a hold of Blocker's arm, kind of restricting him from getting to that rebound. Mabry was huge in this game, kind of stepping up for Morgan Safford, who hadn't really shown up until deep into the second half. He knocked down some huge threes, but they're going to be without his services for the rest of this game.
First free throw is good for Kidtrell Blocker, the sophomore from Rochester, New York. 33% free throw shooter on the year. They're just trying to make him when it matters here for Buffalo, who've struggled at the line all night. 2 for 2 trip as the second free throw rolls around the rim and drops. Buffalo providing a bit of a press here. Makai Larry calm, though, is just going to carry it slowly up the left side of the court as the press kind of diverges. Cross-court pass all the way to the near side, now back the other way. Larry crossing through the paint. A foul is called before that, as he just kind of got slapped on the wrist when he was trying to cut across the court by Curtis Jones, who gets his second. And the 10th team foul means 2 free throws now in the double bonus for Miami's top free throw shooter, Makai Larry.
You talked about Makai Larry's ability to draw those fouls earlier on in this game, and it's just so hard to stay in front of him. And you can't give up easy baskets if you're Buffalo at this point in the game, but Makai Larry at the free throw line is almost automatic.
And not even rim on the first.
Yeah, just costly fouls for Buffalo, and there's not much you can do against a guy like Makai Larry at this point in the game. If you're going to let him drive to the basket like that, you have to do whatever you can to stay in front of him.
And an easy 2 for 2 for Makai. 74-68 Miami lead here with 5:30 to go in the second half. Buffalo trying to get over the hump as their last lead came at the 9:38 mark of the first half. Around the far side, Foster drives in through the traffic and finishes with the right hand.
What an ability he has to get to the basket. Another great move in the paint. A nice spin move between 2 defenders, and he gets that easy bucket to go.
Foster with 17 points to lead all scorers in the game. Lead back down to 4. Williams. Buffalo bench wanted to travel. Instead, he will find Lewis, who cuts across. Lewis, far elbow, back out for Smith. Inside, mid-range jumper from the free throw line from Safford off the front of the rim. And it's rebounded by Buffalo. Powell with the right-hand dribble across the timeline, under 5 minutes to play. Powell races to the basket on Safford, but a foul is called prior to the shot, as Safford will get his 4th.
Yeah, it's going to be the 4th on Safford. Another costly one that's going to send Buffalo to the free throw line. But Miami's gone a bit stagnant on offense. The ball is moving, but Buffalo has been able to stay in front of those driving lanes. And with Mabry on the bench, the perimeter shooting is at a low right now for Miami.
Powell on the first free throw, and he missed it right. Issue now for the RedHawks is these teams can throw haymakers back and forth all they want. This lead has stayed around the same. But for the RedHawks, they now have one player fouled out and 3 with 4 fouls. So really got to be careful here with 4:44 to go that you don't have to start playing backups in crunch time. Second free throw will fall for Powell. That makes it a 3-point Miami lead with 4:44 to go. Williams provides support as Larry was getting pressed, so Williams will come back to take the inbound and carry it across the timeline. Now he gives to Larry. Larry drives, all kinds of space. Left-handed layup is good.
There's just no support on the back end there. No rim protection for Buffalo. Makai Larry able to get all the way to the basket. Foster there with a rare miss at the rim.
Quick transition the other way. RedHawks now go back up the near side. Smith thought about the corner 3, and the RedHawks with a 5-point lead will just pull this back out to the logo where Larry will slow down. Larry, he waves Safford inside. Now Larry goes there, kicks out for Smith. Near wing 3, yes. Timeout Buffalo.
Big time for Billy Smith right there. The freshman stepping up in a big moment. And great find from Makai Larry driving into the paint. The defense collapses and he kicks out to the freshman with one of the biggest moments of his young career.
A double-double now for Makai Larry with 18 points and 11 assists as Billy Smith hits his second three-pointer. And the RedHawks now lead by 8 with 4:03 to go in the game. We'll take a timeout. Fun finish on hand here from Millett. Back in a moment. This is Miami Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. An 8-point lead for the RedHawks here with 4:03 to go. But as Miami has seen time and time again in this game, it's far from over. Buffalo has erased deficits like this with a quick pace. But for Miami, Billy Smith hits a huge 3 going into that timeout to put Miami up 8. RedHawks look to be in firm control right now, but every time that has happened in this game, Buffalo has responded with a furious comeback. The Bulls have one more in them. Back and forth up the court, Blocker and Powell. They'll put it inside for Jones, who just pulls up from inside, and that one off the heel of the rim and no good. RedHawks catch a break.
That's a good look there for your leading scorer. That's about as much as you can ask for out of a timeout. Jones just not able to knock that one down. And these are the moments where Miami has struggled to finish games early on in this season. This would just be huge confidence builder for Coach Steele and the rest of his squad.
Williams has it straight away. 8 to shoot. Puts it into the elbow for Marambo with his back turn. Spin drive with the right hand, just short. Rebounded by Jones. Moving quickly. Hardnett down the left lane with the left-handed shot. He draws the foul. And Morgan Safford picks up his 5th. His night is over, and with 3:19 to go, he's now the second victim of foul number 5 for the RedHawks, as 2 now of their starters in this game out for the rest of it in the final 3:19. He'll be replaced by Julian Lewis. It wasn't the most productive night offensively for Morgan Safford, but he did hit a couple of really big shots for Miami when they needed them.
And you're running out of rotational pieces at this point if you're Miami.
His free throw falls short.
Yeah, with Safford and Mabry now on the bench, you've got Marambo and Jaquel Morris in foul trouble. I mean, Bryson Tatum, who hasn't seen the floor yet, has gotten some minutes recently. But you're really thinning down on the bench if you're Miami at the wrong time with 3 minutes to go.
Second free throw misses, rebound by Mekhi Larry. RedHawks only have 6 players that have seen time in this game that are not fouled out. Larry's got it on the logo. Between the legs, gets some space on Jones, heads to the far side. Larry steps back. Cross court for Williams, tries a contested 3, just short. Rebound Marambo, first try no good, second one falls.
Big
Huge
time
putback.
Big time play there from Anderson Marambo, staying with that miss. And now the lead up to double digits for the first time for the RedHawks.
And a quick 3, and it's short for Foster. A double-double now for Anderson Marambo as well. RedHawks had 4 coming into this game as a team this season. They've got 2 tonight between Mekhi Larry and Anderson Marambo. 10-point lead with 2:32 to go. Contested 3, in and out, put back, Williams, and 1. Mekhi Larry almost electrified the crowd, and Kamari Williams said, why not? Screaming into the MAC logo. As he does, out of nowhere, Kamari Williams rises up for the putback and may have just hit the dagger with 2:28 to go.
We've seen the flashes of athleticism from Kamari Williams in this game with that block earlier and now soaring over the defense to get that putback. What a huge play and a huge sequence for Miami. After those 2 missed free throws from Buffalo, they go down and get 2 huge buckets to probably put this game away. Don't want to speak too soon with 2:30 to go, but Miami's in a good spot right now. I guess one of the top teams in the MAC early on this season.
Williams hits the free throw in the middle. A skyhook from the MAC logo is made by Hardnett, so a nice quick bucket there from Buffalo as they'll call timeout. With 2:19 to go, Buffalo now down by 11. Both teams shooting the double bonus. So for the RedHawks, keys here to stay out of foul trouble. And you can tell on that last free throw from Kamari Williams, the RedHawks brought Billy Smith and Anderson Marambo just back on the defensive end. They're not really concerned with rebounding the basketball right now, just don't want to give up any easy buckets that have plagued them in Buffalo, being able to cut leads like this down so quickly tonight. So with 2:19 to go, Buffalo takes their final timeout, trailing by 11. Bulls looking to turn this one around. If not, they would fall to 0-4 in true road games this season and fall in their first MAC game of the year. Miami's still looking for that first conference win. Trying to get back over 500 here at Millett Hall. This win would put them at 6-5.
And this is the stage in the game where that free throw shooting that Miami has been amazing at early on in this season. 15 for 17 in this game as well is such an advantage for them over Buffalo. Buffalo's going to have to start putting guys on the line if they're going to extend this game at some point. And Miami's just so good at the free throw line that they're comfortable just holding the ball and keeping it away from the Bulls. No real free throw liabilities on the floor at any time if you're the RedHawks.
So it's Lewis, Williams, Larry, Smith, and Marambo. Larry trapped into the corner, able to evade both the defenders, just slaps it forward to himself. Ball now loose on the court. Larry gets it out for Smith. What a play there by Miami's fifth-year senior leader to prevent the jump ball. Into the corner, wide open for Williams, short on the 3. Rebounded for Buffalo by Hardnett. Breakneck speed the other way. Into the corners. Jones fakes the 3. Up top for Blocker. His pass gets tipped away, and it's secured for Miami by Julian Lewis.
How about that play by Marambo defensively to poke that ball out from behind of Blocker there to force that turnover.
So Buffalo not fouling here and just pushing on Larry. They tap that ball away cleanly. Ball loose on the floor, pile up over it. And they're going to call a jump ball here in the possession arrow with the RedHawks with 94 seconds left on the clock. 12 to shoot. So right as they were not fouling, right as it looked like they were going to foul, they actually got a clean steal there, but not able to finish up to get a full transition look. RedHawks have 12 to shoot here, lining up everyone in a straight line just to the left of half court, and now they're going to call timeout. Just a quick one for Travis Steele to drop a play. Don't want to turn the ball over here.
Yeah, smart play by Coach Steele to call this timeout. And with 1:34 to go, you obviously don't want to get too relaxed if you're Miami. Buffalo is a veteran team, a lot of experience on this squad. And so you just want to be secure with the ball on the inbounds pass. Miami's got a lot of good ball handlers. I mean, 1 through 4, 1 through 5, most of these guys are pretty secure handling the basketball if needed. Even guys like Addison Rambo.
And
big dudes have ball security.
Yeah, you do have a safety net. The RedHawks carried all 3 possible timeouts into the second half and just called their first one of the second half. So they still have 2 left. If you get the ball inbounds to one of your guys, you don't like the look, you can always just go back to the huddle. So the RedHawks going to line everybody up at half court. Rambo circles to the offensive end, Larry going to the defensive end. In the middle of them, Billy Smith gets the ball, puts it off the defender's foot, and Powell gets called for the kickball. Nearly a mistake there from Billy Smith. I think Makai Larry tried to tell him don't do that, and Smith said I did it on purpose. As Powell jumped up, Smith threw it right into his foot. And the RedHawks are just going to inbound from the same place. Luckily, though, for Miami, the shot clock sets up to 20, so they get a little more time. Lewis now into the backcourt for Makai Larry. Spins away from the defender and gets it across the timeline with the right hand. Rambo thought about the 3. Instead, he puts it down low for Kamari Williams. 10 to shoot. Williams with his back turned in the near corner. Bounce pass to Makai Larry, who's right next to him. Larry somehow slips all the way through, and left-handed layup goes. It's been Makai Larry's night as he's now got 20 points. And Miami leads by 13 here with 1:05 to go. Foster drives in, left-handed layup, and that one is good. RedHawks need to get it in. They find Larry, who goes back on the baseline to Lewis, and he will be fouled. So he tried to send that one ahead to Anderson Marambo, but it's now that time for Buffalo. And the good news for the RedHawks, just like you talked about, playing in front here late in games. They're such a good free throw shooting team. They're going to get a chance here to extend this lead. It's right now at 11. It's interesting with how good this team has been at shooting free throws, but in non-conference play and through the first couple games, they just didn't really get to use it in the way they wanted to because they didn't have games like this where they were up in close games late that required fouling. Julian Lewis is going to miss the first free throw short. Really the only time we saw it was the Bellarmine game where they were leading late and got to use their good free throw shooting to their advantage, which carried them to an eventual win. Lewis hits the second. 12-point lead for the RedHawks. Buffalo gets it in quick across the timeline. Jones is just going to be fouled by Lewis, who is looking for the steal. Maybe a little greedy there for Julian.
Silly play there from Julian Lewis, and his teammates are telling him right now he knows. Not the smartest play there, but Buffalo's been woeful at the free throw line in this game. 20 for 34, that's 58%. And if you're Coach Whitesell, you're going to be in the locker room hammering that point. Miami gave them so many opportunities. 34 free throw attempts is a lot, as another miss there from Curtis Jones.
Jones at the line now 2 for 5 with 11 points. Buffalo's leading scorer. He's had a bit of a frustrating night by his standards. Does make the bucket, though, to put him in double digits. 87-76 Miami with 51.7 to go. Lewis able to get it in bounds from Rambo, using all that speed to get it up the court, and wide open on the other end, completely unmarked. Billy Smith will put that one in. On the flip side, in the corner, Foster just tosses up a contested 3. That's not going to go for him. Rebound by Marambo, gives to Smith across half court. RedHawks can't dribble this one out, and actually a steal now by Buffalo as Jones fires up a transition 3, in and out, whacked back up in the air by Powell in the direction of the net. That wouldn't go, and his next try will get him a foul. That'll be called on Anderson Marambo. So he picks up his 5th. He's now the 3rd RedHawk to foul out. It gets a much-deserved ovation. This was one of Marambo's best games, I think, defensively of the season.
And he's not much of a rim protector, but he was very disruptive in passing lanes in this game. And he had a couple of contests that went a long way for the RedHawks. But this was just we talked about how we hadn't seen a complete performance from this team, and this is about as complete of a performance as you can ask against a team like Buffalo. So long and athletic and disruptive and really good offensively, but Miami really came alive after those first couple minutes, and they're going to end up with about or close to 90 points in this game, if they don't get to that point. But
Powell hit the first free throw, and the second is good as well. RedHawks bring on Eli Yofin, who makes his first appearance in a while. Buffalo going to press a little bit here, and they pass in for Yofin. He will get fouled. But most of all for the RedHawks, for the time being, they kept Buffalo underneath that magical 80-point mark, which has basically been make or break for Buffalo this season. When they scored more than 80 points, they're 7-0, and when they haven't, they're 1-7.
We talked about that statistic earlier on with Coach Jim Weitzel is 43-3 when Buffalo scores 80 points. One of those losses came against Miami last year at home in Buffalo against the RedHawks in the MAC season opener. So Buffalo, when they score 80 points against most teams, they're pretty good. But against the RedHawks, Miami's able to keep pace more often than not.
Eli Yofin hits the first free throw, his first points, puts the RedHawks over the 90-point mark. Travis Steele's going to wave everyone into the backcourt here as Yofin hits the second free throw. Shot clock off here with 22.5 to go. It's rolled across the timeline where Foster will scoop it up. Or rather, that's Powell who makes his way in, puts up a shot that falls. And so for Powell, that will put the point mark up to 80. Larry tried to give it back for Kamari Williams and hit him in the face, which was the delay on the inbound for the RedHawks. Miami going to get this one across the timeline, and Yofin will be able to dribble this one out as Powell looked for a steal on a cross-court pass to Makai Larry, now getting reprimanded by Weitzel for doing that. But regardless, the RedHawks pick up a really needed win in conference play. 91-80 is the final as Miami improves on the season to 7-9, now 1-2 in Mid-American Conference play. They'll hit the road this weekend to take on one of the top teams in the MAC in the Ball State Cardinals. That game on Saturday afternoon. For Buffalo, they suffer their first loss in Mid-American Conference play and just continue to not find ways to win away from Western New York. 0-4 now in true road games as the Bulls now 8-8 and 2-1 in the MAC. But most of all, first conference win in the tenure of Travis Steele here at Miami, and a win that I think this team can really feel good about. They held a pretty potent Buffalo offense and attack largely off the scoreboard for most of this. I know they hit the 80-point mark toward the tail end of it, but the Miami defense was good when they had to be. They got into some foul trouble, but were able to be just good enough that they could keep their impact players on the floor for long enough to put this game away, and for the RedHawks come away with a victory that I think they can feel really good about in conference victory number 1 of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And these games, these early season games against these teams like Buffalo, who's for years now been one of the best teams in the MAC, one of the models of one of the model programs for Mid-American Conference basketball. This is just a huge confidence booster for a young team with so many freshmen and young transfers who are coming into this program, trying to build from the ground up basically with Coach Steele. And this is about as good of a win as you can ask for if you're the staff at Miami University. And I mean, 91 points on Buffalo. They were able to pretty much lead throughout the entire game. And I mean, yeah, just a huge confidence builder for this young squad, and it's going to serve them well, knowing how to kind of close these games out as well. This was kind of the perfect game that I think Coach Steele would have been overjoyed if you told him that this is how this was going to end.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. RedHawks pick up their first conference win of the season. They're on the road at Ball State on Saturday. They will be back home here at Millett Hall on January 17th. In a 7 p.m. start. That's next Tuesday against Northern Illinois. We'll be back on the air tomorrow, 7 o'clock start for the Miami women as they take on the Golden Flashes of Kent State. Make sure to tune in then. And that will wrap up our coverage here tonight. Feel-good win for the Miami men's basketball team as they pick up conference victory #1 on the season. RedHawks beat Buffalo 91-80 here on this Tuesday night. For Addison, Lenhart, our entire RedHawk radio crew, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, Luke West Poley saying so long and good night from Millett.